these plants are growing, right? So this is about the occurrence of these plants, right? Let us see how is the plant body, right? How is the plant body, right? How is the plant body? So of course it is a thallus, right? The thallus, whatever you see in bryophytes, is somewhat different from these algae, right? So in algae, less differentiation or least differentiation of the plant body is seen over there, right? But here, so little bit differentiation in the plant body is seen over here. So why? Because the plant body thallus itself is differentiated into root like, stem like, as well as leaf like structures we will find over here, right? That's why the plant body is said to be as, of course, thallus. Thallus it is called as, and here plant body is differentiated into root, stem and leaf like structures. But these root, stem as well as leaf like structures are not true roots, stem as well as leaves. Remember, these structures, these root like, stem like and leaf like structures are not true structures. They are not true structures, right? Such kind of thallus you will find in these bryophytes, right? So in these bryophytes will see here two generations, right? In bryophytes, we find two generations. We find two generations, right? And those generations are, number one, gametophytic generation, and second one is sporophytic generation. Like this, there are two generations that we come across. One is gametophytic generation. As you know, this generation, so it is responsible for the production of gametes. It is responsible for the production of gametes, and this gametophyte is haploid in nature. It is haploid in nature. Why it is haploid in nature? Because the chromosomal number is single set, right? N number of chromosomes are seen over here, not 2n number of chromosomes are seen here. Why? Because this is the gametophyte which is producing gametes. Gametes are always haploid in nature, right? So single set of chromosomes they consist of, and such kind of plant is said to be as haploid plant, and this is the plant which is said to be as a dominant plant. And already in the last video only I have clarified gametophytic plant is dominant, independent, right, photosynthetic plant itself, and sporophyte is parasitic. It is parasitic in nature, right? So sporophytic plant is parasitic in nature. It depends on gametophyte for its nutrition. Nourishment is absorbed from this gametophytic plant only, right? So this is the point, very important point to be noted over here. So here we are going to describe the plant body of gametophyte. Take a generation, right? Gametophytic generation plant is described over here, not sporophytic one. Why? Because it is a dependent plant which grows on what? Gametophytic plant, right? So let us describe gametophytic plant then, right? This is the dominant phase or the dominant plant. This is dominant phase, this is recessive phase, we can say, right? Like this, there are two generations that we come across here. I am going to describe this gametophytic plant, right? Some examples we can take for these bryophytes. What are the examples that you have studied in the previous classes? So you know some of the examples, very famous example, very simple one, Markensia, right? Porella is there, you might have heard or not, I don't know, but Porella is there, Markensia is there, right? And Rixia is there, Funaria is there, right? So such kind of moss plants we call them as such kind of, so examples, many number of examples we can take over here, but I will take so the example of Markensia. So as to describe the plant body, right? See here, how is the plant body? This is how the plant body is. Okay. Right? This is how the plant body, Markensia plant body is. So how the plant body, let us describe this plant body. So plant is a thallus, of course, and it is dichotomously branched. It is dichotomously branched and the plant is dorso-ventrally flattened, right? How the plant is? It is flat. So consider this one as the plant. It is dorsally as well as ventrally, it has become flat. Such kind of the plant body is dorso-ventrally flattened and dichotomously branched. We shall write here, plant body is dorso-ventrally flattened and dichotomously branched. Dichotomously branched. Okay. So this is how the plant body is. Externally it looks to be as. Okay. So and here when you observe the plant body, that moment you will find what? So here stem like structure you will find, and so these are the root like structures you will find, and here flattened leaf like structure you will find. That's why already I have mentioned over here, these plants, the thallus is differentiated over here, little bit differentiation is seen over here. So and into root like, stem like and leaf like structures. Plant body is differentiated into stem like, root, leaf like as well as root like structures. And the root like structures in this plant body are named as what? Rhizoids. Rhizoids are nothing but they are the root like structures, they are tubular structures. What these are? These are tubular structures, and these rhizoids may be sometimes branched. They may be branched or sometimes they may be multicellular in higher bryophytes, right? So they may be branched or multicellular in nature. These are simply in bryophytes, usually they are tubular structures. See here, this kind of tubular structures these are, and these rhizoids which help in encourage of or the fixing of this plant body into the soil, right? Rhizoids has two major functions, so that is rhizoids. It helps in encourage. What is encourage? Encourage is nothing but fixing of the plant body, and it also helps in absorption of water as well as minerals. It helps in absorption of water as well as minerals. Then what it does? It is doing the same job which is done by the roots. That's why these are root-like structures, but these are not real roots. Why it is? Because they do not have any conducting tissues or any vascular tissues like xylem and phloem. They do not have. That is why these are simply tubular structures, help in absorption of water as well as minerals from the soil, and even it helps in encourage or fixing of the plant body into the soil. This is the nature of what? These rhizoids. This is the function of these rhizoids. Rhizoids may be branched one, the rhizoids may be multicellular in higher bryophytes. Right? So, see the difference. In algae, there were no roots at all. There were no even root-like structures at all. Right? So, there we had seen hold fast there, and stem-like erectile structure, and leaf-like thallus or frond what we had seen, and that the same plants so modified themselves as higher plants, that is bryophytes, where we can see root-like, stem-like as well as leaf-like structures over here. Right? This is one point to be noted about the plant body. Right? Rhizoids is very important point to be noted, and this plant body is dorsoventrally flattened as well as dichotomously branched. That point to be noted over here. And how the plants absorb the water and minerals you came to know. Of course, the absorbed water and minerals should be conducted inside the plant body. Should be conducted inside the plant body. How the conduction of water and food material that take place in such kind of plants we must know. Of course, so here cell to cell movement of materials, cell to cell movement of materials that take place by diffusion, in these plants. Cell to cell, by diffusion, cell to cell the movement of water take place, the movement of food material take place. Right? So this is how the conduction of water as well as food material that take place in these lower plants which do not have any xylem as well as phloem, of course. Right? So apart from this one, in higher plants, Funaria, it's a moss plant. So in mosses, in Funaria, you will find one unique feature, some of the parenchymatous tissue. Why? Because the entire thallus itself is made up of parenchymatous tissue. Some of the parenchyma cells, they grouped together at the axis of the plant, at the central axis of the plant, they make one central axis, and that axis which help in conduction of water as well as food. In higher bryophytes I am saying, but they are not really xylem and phloem. Right? So these are, hence these are called as non-vascular plants. In the last video only I have mentioned, right? Hence these are called as non-vascular plants. And one more point I had mentioned, that you will understand all these unique features of bryophytes. That is, what are the unique features? Jacketed sex organs I had mentioned. Okay, in the same way these are non-vascular plants. Okay, such kind of unique features I had mentioned in the previous class. Now it is very clear to you, right, about this plant, characteristic feature of the plant. Now let us see reproduction in these bryophytes. So what is reproduction? You know it better, right? How do these plants reproduce is the question arises. As we are describing gametophytic plant, right? So which is dominant phase of the life cycle of these plants, right? So let us see the gametophytic plant as well as sporophytic plant. Two generations will have to see during reproduction, of course. So reproduction, it occurs by vegetative method, and it also occurring by asexual method, and even it is sexual method of reproduction. So first one we'll see vegetative type of reproduction. Vegetative type of reproduction. How it occurs is very important point. So vegetative type of reproduction is one type of reproduction in which, so the new organism or new individual is formed from the detached part of the plant body, right? So let us see how it occurs in case of bryophytes. Okay, so this vegetative type of reproduction that occurs by fragmentation. Fragmentation is one kind of vegetative type of reproduction. So right, and this method you know it better. And second method I would like to go, right, by making the tubers, right? What these tubers are? As usually you are observing here, the plant body is dichotomously branched. So here some tubers are formed over here, and these tubers, when they detach from the plant body, they grow into new individual. They grow into new individual. This is by tubers, the vegetative type of reproduction that take place, right? So this is how vegetative type of reproduction take place by different methods. One more is adventitious branches, right? One more is adventitious branches. See here, in some of these bryophytes, see this one is the dichotomously branched plant body it is, and in this branch you will find some of the adventitious branches over here. Some of the adventitious branches we find over here, and these adventitious branches, when they detach from the plant body, they grow into new individual. This is how adventitious branches leads to the formation of new plant body. This is vegetative type of reproduction what we have seen. Next one is second type, that is asexual type of reproduction. In asexual type of reproduction, there are no formation and fusion of gametes that take place, of course. So this occurs by spores. This occurs by formation of spores, that is nothing but sporulation. Usually asexual type of reproduction that occurs in case of sporophytes, right? That occurs by sporophytes. Sporophyte is nothing but it is a parasitic plant which depend on gametophytic plant, right? So I will explain briefly so how these sporophytes that produce spores and these spores grow into new individual later. Okay, so this is asexual type of reproduction that take place, and even the asexual type of reproduction that take place by formation of gametes. Formation of gametes. You will observe these gametes where they are actually formed. What is this one? Plant body, right? Dichotomously branched plant body. On this midrib like structure you will find a cup shaped structure over here, a cup shaped structure over here, and this cup shaped structure is known as Jamma cup. What it is known as? Jamma cup. In this Jamma cup there you will find, right, so very slender structures. They are about 10 to 15 number of gametes are present in each Jamma cup, right? 10 to 15 number of gametes are seen in each Jamma cup, and whenever the gametes mature themselves, right, whenever the gametes they mature themselves, they detach from the plant body, they come out of the plant body and grow into new individual, right? So this is how Jamma cups which contain gametes which grow into new individual. This is also another type of asexual reproduction that takes place in case of these bryophytes, right? Gamete formation, right? And ultimately very important one, that is sexual type of reproduction. Sexual type of reproduction. Sexual type of reproduction. So how this sexual type of reproduction that occurs is the question. As you know, there we come across one generation, that is gametophytic generation. Gametophytic plant. In this plant only what happens here? Gametes are produced over here. Gametes are produced from these plants. This is the dominant phase of the life cycle, and this gametophyte produces what? Gametes. Where are these gametes formed? Usually, right? So these gametes are usually formed in respective male and female sex organs. Where these gametes are formed? They are formed within the male and female sex organs. Of course, we came to know the sex organs are produced in these bryophytes. It is the unique feature. Of course, this is the plant body. From this plant body, what is produced over here? A special type of structure produced over here. That is nothing but sex organ. What is this one? Sex organ. What is this sex organ called as? This is called as antheridium. What it is said as? Antheridium. Antheridium is male sex organ. Antheridium is male sex organ. A special kind of stalked receptacles are formed on the plant body. On the plant body, and those receptacles are called as the sex organs. They are respectively male sex organ called as antheridium, and second one is female sex organ called as archegonium. See here, one more plant I would like to draw over here. This also produces one more sex organ, stalked one. Right? This is archegonium. This is archegonium. This is archegonium. So antheridium is male sex organ and archegonium is female sex organ. Archegonium is female sex organ. Right? So these plants are separate one. Right? So these plants are separate one, and this plant is female plant and this plant is male plant. So in individual male and female plant, individual sex organs are produced over here. Hence these plants are said to be as dioecious in nature. Dioecious in the sense that sexes are separate. Right? Sexes are separate. So what example I have taken over here? Markensia. In Markensia, the condition is said to be as a dioecious. Dioecious plant. What it is said to be as? Dioecious plant. Why it is called as a dioecious? Because sex organs are separate. Sexes are separate. Right? If sexes are present in the same plant, then monoecious. Monoecious. Both are present in the same plant. Both the sex organs are present in the same plant. So example for this monoecious plant is Rixia. Example is Rixia. And dioecious is Markensia. Markensia, point to be noted, very important point. So some plants are dioecious in nature and some other plants are monoecious in nature. In bryophytes, the point to be noted. It should be very clear to you people. Okay. So what happened now? We came to know how the sex organs are produced over here. They are the stalked receptacles. See here, this is a stalk on which the receptacle, that is a structure is formed, that is archegonium is formed on a structure, that is stalked structure, and this stalk itself is called as archegoniophore. What it is known as? Archegoniophore. And what about this structure, that is stalk like structure? Antheridiophore. What it is said as? Antheridiophore. Antheridiophore and archegoniophore are the stalked structures on which respective sex organs are produced. It must be very clear to you. Okay. Now, antheridium as well as archegonium. Okay. So what these are? Sex organs. Let us see. Antheridium. Right? Antheridium, which is called as male sex organ. Okay. This antheridium is jacketed sex organ. Is it very clear now? This is one characteristic feature of bryophytes. The sex organs are jacketed one. They are uncovered, right? So with a sterile tissue. Okay. So they are uncovered with sterile tissue. Okay. So let us see here. I shall draw here the okay. This stalk like structure what we see, on which their antheridium is present, and this antheridium which contains, so there the gametes over here, male gametes. Okay, what these are? What these are? Androcytes. What these are called as? Androcytes. This is the entire structure is antheridium. Okay, such kind of many number of antheridia are so clubbed themselves into one receptacle. Okay, such kind of receptacles may contain many number of antheridia. This is single antheridium that I have taken as an example. So this antheridium contains androcytes. These androcytes are sperm mother cells. Sperm mother cells, right? And these sperm mother cells are responsible for the formation of what? Sperms. And those sperms are called as antherozoids. What are formed? Antherozoids. So these antherozoids are biflagellated. They are biflagellated, means two flagellas are available. Then what do? They swim very actively in the water. A thin film of water is required for sexual reproduction, I had mentioned, of course. So you are seeing here biflagellated condition, means antherozoids, they swim in the thin film of water and they move towards what? The archegonium. That is nothing but which contains the female sex cell called as egg cell or ovum itself. Now it is very clear. This is antheridium, the structure of antheridium. And so second one is archegonium. How is the structure of archegonium? Let us see here. It is a flask shaped structure. What kind of structure it is? Flask shaped structure which is uncovered with cover cells. And here you will find neck canal cells. You will find here neck canal cells. Okay, neck canal cells you will find over here, and here you will find the egg cell. Okay. So this archegonium, what it is? Archegonium. This archegonium, such kind of many archegonium are present over here. Okay, archegonium. It is a flask shaped structure which contains neck over here and bulbous base, that is venter. Okay. So this venter which contains the egg cell, it contains egg cell. And now, so these plants, since they are usually growing in a moist soil and which contains a thin film of water, so these antherozoids, male gametes, they swim in the water and they come to the archegonium, and archegonium has cover cells. And these cover cells dissolve themselves, right? And so it produces a kind of chemical, right? That chemotactic chemicals, they are said to be as chemotactic one, means chemical attraction. Means by producing that chemical, they attract the antherozoids towards them. When the antherozoids, they come over here, they enter into the neck, right? When they enter into the neck, so the dissolution of the neck canal cells take place, and ultimately this male gamete fuses with the female gamete, and ultimately so fusion of male and female gamete take place inside the archegonium, and ultimately it becomes what? Zygote. What it becomes? Zygote. And this zygote undergo mitotic division. It undergo mitotic division. Mitosis occurs over here. This zygote is a single cell. Single cell divides into 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell like this. Many number of cells it is divided into. See here. Group of cells it is divided into after mitosis. And this group of cell is nothing but embryo. These are the plants which produce embryo for the first time. Hence, these are embryophytes. What these are named as? Embryophytes. Is also one more unique feature of these plants. Okay. These are, since they are consisting of embryo, these are described as embryophytes. Right? The name itself suggests embryo means embryo. Phyta means plant. Plants which produce embryo called as embryophytes. This is also a very unique feature of these plants. Right? I think you are so clear that how the sexual type of reproduction that occurs in case of bryophytes. Okay, this is more important point to be noted. Sexual type of reproduction you must remember. Okay, so this is all about the general characteristic features of embryophytes. There are bryophytes. Yes, next important feature in these bryophytes is alternation of generation. This topic is very important, and this is unique feature of these organisms. Okay, so there are two generations that we come across over here. There are two generations that we come across over here. One is gametophytic, and second one is sporophytic generation. Like this, there are two generations that we find over here, and these are occurring in the life cycle of these organisms alternatively, right? Once the plant body is gametophytic plant, and later it produces sporophytic plant, and later sporophytic plant grows into gametophytic plant. Like this, alternatively both the generations are occurring over here. That kind of alternation of generation is seen in these plants. So how does it take place? Let us see here. So first of all, gametophytic plant is there. Gametophytic plant is there, and this plant produces what? Gametes. It produces gametes. So gametes in the sense that male sex organ produces male gamete and female sex organ produces female gamete over here. Okay, so male sex organ in these plants is antheridium, and so female sex organ is archegonium. They respectively produce male gamete as well as female gamete. In diagram we have seen that one. Okay, so these two gametes, when they are produced, they come in contact with each other in the water medium. Hence these are called as amphibians of plant kingdom. Male gamete come towards the female gamete and both of themselves fuse each other. Now fusion of both the gametes, and ultimately what do they form? They form ultimately the zygote. What it is? The zygote. What is formed? Zygote is formed, and this zygote undergo what? Mitotic division, mitosis. After the mitosis, what happens over here? So this continues over here. So after mitosis, this zygote that grows into embryo, and this embryo, since it is formed, these plants are embryophytes. Okay, so this embryo that grows into another plant, that is what? Sporophyte. What it forms? Sporophyte. This embryo grows into sporophytic plant. Okay, sporophytic plant, once again what happens with that one? It produces spores. It produces spores, and these spores fall on the substratum, and later they grow into new individual plant, and that plant is gametophytic plant, right? So gametophytic plant. This is how alternation of generation that occurs in these plants. What is that? Gametophytic plant. So this is haploid in nature. How it is? Haploid plant means N. It is indicated by N, right? So this gametophytic plant produces what? Gametes. Gametes fuse together form what? Zygote. Zygote undergo mitosis so as to form embryo. Embryo develops into sporophytic plant, so which is diploid in nature. What it is? Diploid in nature. 2n number of chromosomes are seen in each cell of this plant, right? So sporophytic plant is formed, and this sporophytic plant, what it does? It produces spores, and spores they grow into new individual plant, and that plant would be gametophytic plant. This is how the alternation of generation that take place over here. So this is one generation, this is the second generation, right? So there are two generations that we come across in these plants. This is called as alternation of generation. So these are the important characteristic features of the bryophytes, and remaining things, that is classification of these bryophytes and their respective examples and their respective characteristic features and the unique characteristic features, we will focus on that one in the next video. Thank you.